We've now moved over to 123D Make, which is the software program we're going to use to be able to physically create the item that we've been modelling in 123D Design throughout this tutorial series. And as I've opened the software, the first thing I've done is I've signed into my Autodesk account so that I can access the cloud-based storage of the projects that I've created. So to do that, I'm going to go down to Open, and I'm going to open from my projects, and I'm going to look in the browser window that opens for the earbud holder that we've been creating, and I'm just going to click on it, and that's going to download and import it into the 123D Make window. Now, if you'd not saved it in 123D Design to your projects area, you can still access your model by going to the Open from my computer, and then browsing for the location using Explorer or Finder to find the file that you'd created, and when you click on it, it'll import just like the other one has done. It works fairly similarly to the other program. If I hold the right mouse button down, I can spin round and orbit around my shape. By default, the program comes with a few materials already pre-input, but I guess like me you're going to want to start adding a few more, so I thought I'd show you how to do that, as it's not that straightforward. So I've already created one here, acrylic 3mm, but what we'll do is I'll delete that one in a moment and I'll show you how I've created that one. It's probably the kind of material you're going to use a lot of if you do quite a bit of laser cutting at your school. So in order to make a new material, we're going to go to the little pencil icon, and I'll just delete that one to start off with, and the list on the left are the pre-input materials that comes with 123D Make. So to make a new one, we're going to go to the little plus sign, which is the add new material, and it comes up as unnamed, so I'm just going to double click that, and I'm going to type acrylic 3mm. And then we need to edit the properties of that material. So the units, because I'm over here in the UK, we're going to go for a millimetre. And the material size, that's going to be the sheet size that you're going to use in order to cut this. Now, it's probably kind of useful to go for the bed size of your laser cutter here. So the height, I know most of them will do at least 400, and lengthwise we're probably looking at something like 600. But obviously if yours are slightly different to that in your school, you can obviously just edit those if it's a 600 by 600, or if it's a 450 by 450 laser cutter, you can just obviously change those values to match your bed size of your laser cutter. And thickness wise, nominally we're going to go for a 3mm thickness here. However, again, depending on your supplier, you might find that this varies from 2.9 to 3.1, or definitely the place that I usually buy mine from does vary by colour sometimes. So it might be that you want to set up a material and have different colours and their corresponding thicknesses, just to make it slightly easier for the pupils and students. The other two parameters just down here, the cutting tool parameters, we're going to leave by default. Now the slot offset is just the amount of gap either side of the piece that you're going to put in, and we'll see how it's going to slice it up in a moment, but I've used quite a few examples and this default value seems to be fairly decent. So when you're happy with that, we're going to click the Done button, and that's now input this new material. So if I go back to my drop down box, I can see at the bottom I've got this acrylic 3mm, and the object that it's pulled in, we'll just reset it to millimeters, and you can see that it's not actually the same size as what I created in 123D Design, and that's because it's pulled it in with using a uniform scale. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to select the original size button, and that's now pulled it in with the same size that I created, so it should be 60mm in diameter and something like 34, 35 if I remember rightly high, and that's, you can see that's the right sort of values that we're expecting just in the three boxes to this side. So what we need to tell 123D Make is the way we want to construct our model. And again, there's a few different options here. I don't really want to go through them all in this video because it'll just go on for hours. So we'll just look at the stack slicers, which is probably one of the more common ones. And you can see if I just rotate, what this program's done is it's sliced up our model into various slices of 3mm acrylic, and it's laid them out onto a 600 by 400 sheet. And what it also does is it numbers each one for you, so when you are building it up, it's quite simple to find the next piece because you just count upwards, and there should be 15 parts altogether. What we can do as an option, by default it'll slice it in this orientation, so it'll just stack them up on top of each other. It might be for some models that we might want to change this slice direction and have it coming from this way, for example. Now for this model it's probably not the optimum idea, but again, depending on the model that you've created, you might find that one of them is better than the other. So I'll just try and put that back to what it was before. We can also go down to the assembly steps, and if I go back to the start on this item and just scroll through, it shows you the steps and also highlights which one it's asking for on the next one. So you can see if I just go back, we've started out with piece number 1, 2, 3, and so on, going up. And the blue lines, I guess you could push some bits of wire through or something to try and hold them all together, although if you're using cardboard like this model is, you're probably just going to use some type of glue just to stick it all together. So we'll just go through to finish that off, and you've now got your model there done in cardboard. There will be an option here if you want to change it in material just so it looks slightly more realistic, and you can play that back through, so when you do come to build, if you are struggling, you've always got this little animation to help you out. There's also the Get Plans button, which lays it out on your screen and allows you to export it as either an EPS, a PDF or a DXF file. So again, if you're using lasers, it might be useful to be able to DXF it. Most lasers probably will recognise an EPS format as well, and I've not really come across any that do PDFs, but either there's some around or it's just another way of transporting it around. So a few little steps in there, and we did say we'd just look at maybe a few more construction techniques. So if we just go looking at things like the curve, again you can see it slightly spaces out those slices and holds them together with little uprights, and again for this particular model it's not the best solution. And again there's a really obscure one which is folded panels, which again would still cut you out or print you out, and obviously you're not really going to do this in 3mm acrylic. This would have to be more something like card or paper in order to create that form. So yeah, just another quick one for you there.